Welcome back to Outlaw Woodworking.
Work hard, get dough. I can't get no sleep, please make my life more simple. But I wouldn't trade a thing for what I have. I go hard, do what I need to make it last. They say the good die young, I hope I'm back. Cheers to my past.
Today we're going to do a special project for my friend Gary. Today I'm going to take you step by step. We're going to do a 3D carving for my friend Gary. We're going to have this is a live edge that I recently surfaced. I surfaced both sides, and right now we're going to basically take this. We're going to get a center point, and we're going to Z off this corner, and then we're going to go ahead and do a 3D carving. I don't know how long it's going to take because I took this 3D beer mug in the center, and I stretched it up a little bit. So we are going to go a little deep to get that 3D profile, and then I'll V-carve some stuff for Gary in the top and the bottom. Maybe a couple little things in the side, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, let me take you step by step. We'll start in the drawing part, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get this. I have a flat edge right here, and so I want to square off to this bottom. Now sometimes it can be hard to when you have a live edge to get your drawing right in the center. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to figure out, so my beer mug is going to be right about here, right in the middle. So I'm going to figure out this center of this. So I got about 11 inches. So we'll make a mark at 5.5. So that's my approximate center of this live edge thing. Now what I want to do is I want to be center up and down. So this is 18.5. So I basically want my carving to be 9.25. 9.25 to the center. 9.25 right there. So that's the center of my beer mug right there. So what I want to do is figure out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see where my touch plate is right here, and I'm going to mark this center on my touch plate. So basically what I'm going to do is I need to get a square over here and square to that center mark right there. I got this old-fashioned square. Actually, it came from my grandpa. He was a machinist in the Navy. He gave me some different things. So right there, I'm going to go ahead and pencil mark all the way across there. So what I want to do is basically what I want to do is, live edges can be a little tricky to get in your center, but I do have a little squaring point right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from this little squaring point to my center line. So I got 6.25 coming across here from inside that inside corner. I have 6.25. And what I have going up to the center is 9.25. And we're going to double check our material thickness because I did surface this, and we got 1.75 inches. So we're going to double check our drawing. We're going to go back into our drawing, and we're going to double check to make sure that we can get from this corner of the touch plate to the center. So we'll go back in there and just check these measurements, and once we get it figured out right where we want, we'll start running the program and we'll make this sign for my friend Gary. Okay, right off the bat, here is the drawing that we designed for Gary. Now what I want to check is I want to check some dimensions from this corner to the center of this beer mug. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to draw a line, and we're going to start at this corner. We're going to go over 6.25, 6.25, enter, and then we're going to go up So you can tell right there, we're not in the center from that, from our dimension right there. So we're going to move everything to this center. So we're going to go up 9.25, 9.25, enter. So there's our center right there. And so what we need to do is we need to move this whole thing to that center. Well, let's move them one at a time. So we're going to grab this one first. And put that right. Now we could move that right to that dot. Okay, so now the beer mug's right in the center. Now we're going to go ahead and move the free beer. And I can't tell if that's in the center or not. It doesn't look like it, so I'm going to move it a little more. Now that looks better. Now it looks like the space between the free and the beer mug and the beer, it's a little off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the free down just a little bit, both the free and the beer. So now, even though our material is a lot wider than what we got going on, if we're taking the measurement from this corner and putting the beer mug in the center of our line right there, no, it's right on. I guess the handle kind of is deceiving. So now we got it right where we want it. We're going to erase this other line that we've created. Delete. There was one down here too. Let's see if we can get rid of that one. Looks like that one's gone. So now let's go over to our toolpaths. Let's check our material setup. And right off the bat, you can see the XY datum is from the center. We want to change that to the left-hand corner. And we're going to be material surface. You can see the gap right here above the model. And material thickness, it shows 2 point. We're actually 1 3/4 now because we surfaced that material. So let's change that and hit OK. Now what we want to do, we've got 3 toolpaths to do right here. We've already surfaced our material, but the first thing we need to do is the roughing toolpath because we're going to use this RD2075 first, and I'll show you a picture of it. Let's get that one going. And model boundaries, so we'll go around the whole thing. And I like to do a 3D raster. We're going to go ahead and put the model number RD2075 and calculate. Now what we're going to do is preview that one real quick. And you can see the mug right there. Now we're going to go over to our 3D finishing toolpath right here. And we're using a 46288. It's one of my favorite bits for doing finishing. We'll go ahead and write it down here anyway, 46288. And I'll show you a picture of that right here and calculate. And that's going to take a little time. And we're going to preview that. So there's the detail of the beer mug. Pretty good detail. Okay, now we need to do a V-carve. So we're going to close that. We're going to go to our 2D view, click out of there. We're going to highlight both the free and the beer. By the way, Gary has a really big refrigerator. We're going to group this together, and it's always full of Coors Light, his favorite beer. So we group those together. Now we're going to go over to V-carve. I'm not going to project it onto the 3D model because I'm going to XYZ it again from the corner. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to V-carve. I'm going to start at 0.05. It gives me a little better, and I'm going to put in the bit, which is 1502. It's a 90-degree V-carve bit, and we'll go ahead and calculate that. Now we're going to go ahead and preview all. Oh, so even though it did, you can't see this one. So let's actually close that. Reset preview, and we'll just look at the V-carve one. Preview visible. So that's what it's going to look like right there. Now, even though this material looks bigger, we're actually in the center of our live edge slab. So let's save all these toolpaths and we'll go over and we'll start cutting this out. The first thing I do is go down my AVID CNC checklist. I home the machine. I get the proper bit that we're going to use, which is going to be the RD2075, which is a downcut bit. And I get that changed out first, and then I XYZ from this live edge corner, and that's the first step. Basically what we're doing is we're locating the corner of this material, and that'll save that for the rest of the progress. The only problem with this system, so I'm doing a roughing toolpath, but I'm doing the entire piece of material. So what happens is you can no longer Z out from that corner with your next bit, because you've basically cut the material down, almost 3/4 of an inch. Now here's the roughing toolpath, and this is the RD2075. Now I've sped this up quite a bit, and I skipped quite a few passes. It made about 6 or 7 passes to get this mug right where it needed to be. Now, one of the mistakes I made, so I'm always learning, there's always something, but one of the mistakes I made was after I finished this roughing toolpath, and I'm always checking to make sure it's clamped down real good, because your material can start to lift up or move around if you don't make sure it's secure. Now, the one thing I did wrong is, so I'm done with the roughing toolpath right now, and now we're going to insert the Amana R6, 46288. I'll leave a picture of it right here. It's a really nice carving bit. Now right here I try to surface, Z out just to the surface, but it's on top of material that I've already cut out, so it's a lot lower. So what I figured out was I wasn't able to use the touch plate. So basically what I did was I ended up doing a manual Z on top of the very highest point of the mug, and that ended up working. Now the mistake that I made when I did do that was, if you look up at the top of the mug where the foam is, you'll see a hole right in the mug. Well, when I was doing my manual Z, I forgot to change the jogging to incremental, where it just barely moves, so that you can get a piece of paper, put it on top of the mug, and just barely get down there and touch your paper, and then reset the Z to 0. And what I did was I had the Amana bit right above the top of the mug, and I hit the Z to go down to the paper, but I forgot to change to the incremental steps, and it just drove right down into the mug with a hole. Now I was able to fix that by basically I mixed up some of this wood material with some glue and filled it in, so it has a little bit of a spot there. But that's part of learning, and I, believe me, I've only been doing this about 1.5 years, and I'm always learning. So, but this particular bit does a really nice job. Matter of fact, the top of the mug where the foam is just as smooth as you could. It's really smooth. Anyway, this is the 3D part. It takes a long time. I'll go ahead and speed this up and we'll see the finished product. Next up, it was time to install the 1502 90-degree V-carve bit, and I'll show you a picture of that right here. I then get the touch plate and I Z out to my new material surface. I don't need to do the XY. Just Z out to this new material surface and then run this program. here it is. The CNC work is all done. I do have some mistakes to sand and a couple places to fix up, but I think it's going to turn out okay. The first thing I do is I take a look at everything, and I can see some router lines from the 1/4 inch bit, and I go ahead and sand all those out. And then once I get that all sanded out, I get my Dremel, and I wanted to clean up some of this mug. Because I stretched it up out of the wood a little bit, it left a little bit of imperfections on the edge. So I wanted to clean that up, and I just used my little Dremel to sand out some of those little areas around the mug. And that seemed to work pretty good. The next thing I do is the spot where I made the mistake where I drove the bit right into the top of the foam, I mix up some of the material sawdust with some Titebond glue, and I fill in this little hole. Next up, I painted the letters black. And what I did is I painted them the night before, and then today I'm sanding off the excess material to leave where the black V-carved letters are just black on the inside. And that seems to work pretty good. I don't have to tape it off or anything. I just paint them and then sand off the excess. Once I get it all sanded the way I want it and it's looking good, I proceed to pull out some stain. I'm going to stain the whole thing with a Cabernet stain. I'm going to stain the outside live edges, and basically if you leave the stain on longer, it darkens up. Now if you wipe it off right away, it'll be a little lighter, but I chose to leave it on there and make it a little bit darker before I wiped it off. Once I was happy with everything, the staining and everything, I get out my little sprayer and I proceed to spray about 6 coats of polyurethane on top of this. And I just do 1 coat and let it dry, and then do another coat, let it dry, until it had about 6 coats on it. Thanks for watching this episode of Outlaw Woodworking. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making this 3D. I learned a lot on this project, and the things I learned was basically you if you're gonna 3D the entire surface of your project, you really need to plan out where you're going to do your changes in your tools and Z out the different tools. And then also, you know, if you're gonna do a manual Z out like I did on the mug, you know, make sure to do switch your program to incremental so you can barely move down and touch the paper. All in all, I think it came out really nice. I used a burgundy stain, and I left it on there a little longer this time, and it darkened up really nice. You can see this stripe over here. That's part of the blue wood feature from this type of pine tree in Montana. And yeah, I thought the 3D came out really nice. It sticks out probably an inch up here on the foam. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you next time. We're going to send this off to Gary. Hopefully he likes it. And yeah. Anyway, thanks again. Later.
Work hard, get dough. I can't get no sleep, please make my life more simple.